Okay, then I have got something super special for all of you today. Now, I know you all love my psychic weirdness and my woo-woo. So I have found the beautiful, beautiful Kel Caffekey, who has jumped on today to talk to us all about inner child healing. Something very dear to my heart. Obviously, my members know the journey that I take you on as a Self-Love Club member. But Kel Caffekey is basically a medium, and she works with people to help them heal their inner child. Now, just before we start this beautiful conversation that we know is going to go off on so many tangents, so grab a piece of paper, grab a coffee. You're probably going to want it for this one. I think it's really interesting, and I think it's really important to say at this point before we jump in, everybody has an inner child. Everybody has an inner child that is crying for them, for some attention, for some love, for some healing. So as we step through this, you may feel triggered, you may feel emotional, you may have lots of different things going on. Please just, if you need to stop the video, take a breath, come back to it. If you need to cry, allow the emotions to flow. I think it's really important that we need to start there today. I don't normally give warnings when we do this stuff, but I'm very aware that the kind of things that I'm expecting us to talk about is going to invoke your inner child. You're going to feel a bit hurt. You're going to feel a little bit emotional. And, you know, both of us do this for a living. So this is like our bread and butter that we're about to take you through, guys. So grab your pieces of paper, grab a pen, grab some water, and let's get started. So Kel, talk to me, because your previous role, we'll call it, wasn't actually necessarily around healing inner child, right? As a medium,
No, it wasn't.
what were you doing before you recognized that actually your soul mission is to help inner child healing?
I was a trance medium. So some of you may have seen me as Kel Trance Medium on Facebook. Unfortunately, I got censored, like your lovely self. But I used to go live, reach. Exactly. But I used to go live, regularly reaching 200 to 300 people on a live session. I went live at random times, advertised times, and I used to reach about 165 to 170,000 people in any one live. And I used to do readings of all sorts. However, I kind of found a common denominator, and it always came back to the inner child. And I'm someone that has done a massive amount of inner child work, and I've been healing my inner child since I was 17. But I've spent an intense last 2 years doing it. And I just, like, through lots of meditation and working with my guides, they showed me this is what I'm here to do. And I truly, truly believe that the only person that will heal you, beautiful soul, is you. Yeah. You have every answer inside of you that will show you all the healing that it needs to do.
Absolutely.
And that's just where my guides are saying, Kel, you know how to heal the inner child. Look at yours. Yours is happy. She plays in puddles. You know, I played bubbles with my partner's son on Saturday. You know, I do crazy stuff, but that's because I have a healed inner child. And I know so many of you watching right now, you have a scared inner child that sits under a table. She lies under a bed. She pulls her sheets over her head, or he, sorry. And I want you to just learn how to heal that beautiful inner child, to give it that love, that attention, but most of all, start connecting with that part of your mind that pretty much, probably for most of you that are watching this, it probably runs your life. Yeah. Can I comment, Lucy?
Yeah, I think that's really, it's a really, really valuable comment that you made, because most people are so disconnected. In my experience, anyway, I'm using the term most so you guys can comprehend it. I don't literally mean 90% of the population. However, probably is more. Most are disconnected from their inner child, and I know certainly for myself, a bit like what you just said, Kel, I've had to do a lot of work to even remember my inner child, let alone become friends with her. And a number of people that I work with, particularly in my membership, you know, people have forgotten that person within. They've completely gone, I'm old now. And it's really funny. I was doing an Instagram post earlier today, and I'm going to post it this evening. And it was all about, just because you've outgrown your pigtails, she's still there.
Yeah.
Because it's so true, babe, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
it's so true. We get to a certain age and all of a sudden it's like, I have to be old.
Yeah.
You know, like 14-year-olds all of a sudden want to be a driver, right? Because it's so
That's
close
true.
to them. And so we forget to actually evolve that 14-year-old. You know, we forget to evolve the 2-year-old.
Yeah.
So as we step back and as we unpick all of the noise, and, you know, anybody that's ever listened to any of my videos, you will know there would have been a situation anywhere from birth to about 10 years of age that you have catapulted into a catastrophic event that has completely taken you down the route of the path that you have gone.
Yes, completely.
And it could have been, sorry, Kel, you can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And the mother or the father or the auntie or the uncle could have been like, I can't afford it, but I don't want to tell you that. And you would have thought, well, you don't love me because you haven't given me that. Could be something as simple as that. Could be something a lot more traumatic, and I'm not playing light to it. Just to everybody watching, I know there's huge amounts of physical abuse and emotional abuse, all sorts of things that go on. I just want to give you a really light-hearted example for this.
Yeah.
Just because physical abuse or something traumatic like that hasn't happened to you doesn't mean you don't have a story.
Yeah. And one of the things that I just want to say there, okay, is we are all equal. Okay. It doesn't mean because of the horrendous childhood someone had that your level of abuse, either emotional or physical or whatever, is any worse than anyone else's, because it's not. Because at the end of the day, there is a separation between your inner child and you and that part of your mind. So please, if you're watching this and you think, oh, you know, well, so-and-so's, you know, story is much worse than mine, it's not. Okay. At the end of the day, you have a disconnection and a separation in your mind. And I believe through self-love, working and helping yourself and all the kind of things and the techniques that we can talk about, okay, you can bring back you and your inner child together as one, so that you're not separated. And just touching on something you said there, I had a 66-year-old lady that I did a session with a couple of weeks ago, and she was sat in front of me sucking her thumb.
Oh.
Okay. And I've got to say, if I'm honest, it tends to be the older you are, the more you revert. I don't know if you can take this, Lucy, but the more your inner child starts to show up. Okay. And I've done so many sessions with clients in the past where pretty much that little girl is running their life. I've had people say to me, Kel, I can't drive anymore. I've lost my confidence. No, that's the little girl in you that has lost that confidence. I've had men come to me and go, I don't know why I eat so much. That's the little boy in you that is feed me, feed me, feed me.
And it's
So
programs. It's program. It's literal programs, right? And it could, like I said, it could be something as simple as, I'm sorry, you can't have that. And you think, well, then you don't love me.
Yep.
And then you go down this horrific, traumatic experience of thinking that no, you're not capable of being loved.
Yep.
And it's actually a very common thing with inner child healing, right? And I'm sure you experience it as well. It's nobody's ever going to love me. I'm not worthy of love. And
yeah, and it's one of the most common myths out there, okay? Because your inner child actually believes it's real, okay? It doesn't understand that it is part of your mind. And one of the biggest things that I do in my teaching when I work with people, okay, is I start very softly with finding out who your inner child is, okay? What age is he or she, okay? What do they look like? What things do they like? And I kind of do like a very soft 7 to 10 day kind of working from the heart with affirmations and all those kind of things of starting to connect and become friends and build. Because one of the most powerful statements that I introduce people that work with me is, I get you to get in touch with your inner child, and I get you to say, I'm sorry that I've ignored you for so long. I've ignored you because I didn't know how to talk to you until now. Now that might trigger some of you watching this, okay? But the biggest thing that I do is you need to say sorry to that little boy or that little girl inside of your mind, because they're used to you pushing them down. They're used to you ignoring them and going, I'm not dealing with you today. I'm not doing that. I don't care that you feel that way. I'm going to eat that thing because it's going to make me feel better and I haven't got to listen to you. And if you think about a child in front of you, because that's what you're dealing with, okay, and you think to yourself, if you've got a little child of 6 or 7 in front of you and you say, I'm sorry, I've ignored you, what does that child do? It goes, oh, okay, right, you didn't know. And then that's massive, and they start to work with you, become friends with you, and talk with you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the greatest things I do in my teaching when I'm working with my people.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because on my Instagram live this morning, I was talking about something very similar, but from a health perspective. So you cannot talk to your body and say, hey, babe, what's up with it? And if you've ignored it for 30 years, all of a sudden it's going to go, well, actually, my guts are a bit sore and this is sore and that's sore. You have to nurture it, and you have to do it daily. And actually, it's exactly the same principle. It's exactly the same principle. And this is what we do when we do retreats and stuff. It's taking people back to that point where they started ignoring it. Taking people back to that point where the trauma occurred. So all of a sudden, we weren't the kid anymore. We were the grown up. And it could have been at 5. All of a sudden, overnight, you became grown up because of a situation or a word or a thought or we make assumptions. Let's be honest. I could say a sentence right now, and every single one of you listening would take a different assumption based on what I said, based on your own perspective of the situation, your own perceptions, your own belief systems, your own values. And it's exactly the same principle with getting in touch with this beautiful little thing that's inside of you.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that I've always said, actually, to be honest, is we're so used to berating that little child inside of us, okay? We're so used to, I don't want to listen to you, I'm too busy, I'm going to ignore you, okay? How about telling that little child inside of you, you're awesome, you're amazing, and you're incredible. You're so special, you're so pretty or handsome, you're wonderful, you're beautiful. Because remember, you are dealing with that part of your mind that very much believes it's real. It doesn't realize that it is you. It thinks it's its own thing. And it's for you to learn to parent that part of your mind and bring you guys back to togetherness and wholeness, to work as one. And learning to talk to your inner child is massive. And when you did your Instagram live this morning, all about, your eating and stuff, if I'm honest, the amount of people that I see, honestly, that maybe I've seen one lady, I think she was nearly 28 stone, and bless her, okay, but she's now lost a huge amount of weight. And that's just because she's realized, actually, do you know what? When I have a chocolate bar and I eat all of it, that's not me that's 52. That's my little girl that's 6 or 7 that was told, no, you can't have that chocolate bar.
Exactly, bingo.
That's what it is. You were told at some point as a child, no, you can't have it. So you went, well, if I can't have it, I want it now. Therefore, I'm going to indulge myself. I'm going to overeat. I'm going to have that McDonald's, because honestly, as an adult, you know McDonald's isn't good for you. You shouldn't eat it. But that inner child side of you goes, go on then, I dare you. Go on, I bet you. Go on. Okay. And that's where most of us are. And it's about taking back that power from the inner child, coming back to one, realizing that you are one, and realizing that it's all about, if you love yourself, you wouldn't harm yourself the way you do.
Exactly.
Start loving that beautiful, beautiful soul inside of you, because believe me, for those of you that are watching, guys, it wants that love. It wants that nourishment. It wants to know it's awesome and amazing, but you've ignored it, probably because you didn't know how to talk to it for years and years and years. So do that little bit of inner work and start to find out who you are and how old your child is.
Yeah, and people will be sat there going, well, how do I figure out how old my child is? And because I get this all the time, well, just tell me how, Lucy. Just tell me how. I bet you get it as well. It's just
I
like,
get it all
give me
the
the
time.
answers, Lucy. Just give me the
Yeah.
answers. I don't want to do the work myself. And the fundamental truth is exactly what Kel just said, is you need to talk to your inner self. Now, a great tip that I use, and we'll get some tips off Kel in a minute, I love to journal.
Yep.
Actually, let me rephrase that. I don't love to journal. I know it's really incredible for me, everything that's going on in my body, and to bring everything into oneness. So anybody that knows me or has ever worked with me, they'll be like, oh, here she goes on about bloody journaling, right? But it's true, right?
Yeah.
I have books for everything. I have a book for my morning. I have a book for my afternoon. I have a book for my evening. I have a book for everything, my dreams, you name it. So my recommendation to be able to link into your inner child is, first and foremost, start asking yourself a few questions, such as, what did you used to really love when you were a child? Like, what's the memory that you've got? Is it jumping in puddles with your little red wellies on, or something like that? Because then you can go back and say, okay, well, I was 3 at that point. Maybe it was your first horse riding lesson at 7 years of age, or something like that. I don't know. You go back and ask yourself that question. It's like, what is your beautiful memories? Like, what is or not even beautiful, it could be any memory that you've got. Go back there and look, is your inner child at that point something that was happy, or were you already on your path of disconnecting from your human? Because that's the way I like to describe it. I like to explain everything very, very bluntly.
Yep.
This is the human vessel, okay?
Yep.
And we get disconnected to things. We get disconnected to our soul. We get disconnected to our inner child. We get disconnected to lots and lots of different things, okay? And there's certain buckets that you get put in for that. ADHD, fibromyalgia, you name it. Like, they've all, in my opinion, it all comes down to soul. It all comes down to just this beautiful vessel that we are hiding out in for however many years. So ask yourself the question, what are the memories that you have of your childhood? Are they good? Are they bad? Split a piece of paper in half. Let's put good one side, bad the other side, and start exploring that. Because this is like a really practical human getting in the brain, rather than me going straight down the rabbit hole and, taking you into your soul. Maybe you're not ready for that. Literally write it down. Another great example of how to invoke your inner child is looking at some photos from your past.
Yes, definitely.
When you are young.
And can I just touch on something just there, just really quickly? Okay. So many of the people that I see say, but I've shut it all out. I do not remember my childhood, and I've shut it all out. Yeah. So quite commonly, and personally, my own experience was I had no memory before 9. Okay, nothing. All right. And I just want to say, there's lots of people who will say to you, yeah, but Lucy, I don't know what my inner child looks like. I don't know, I don't know what he looks like. I haven't got a clue how old he is. Okay. So start at your earliest memory. Okay. Because there is something that would have happened potentially for me. Okay. At 9, something happened. Okay. And then I decided I was no younger than that. Okay. Now, if you start to heal and work with that 9-year-old, then they start to show you a younger version and a younger version. And it comes out. I mean, my inner child is 4. And one of the things in my sessions personally is I either come from an inner child perspective. So in sessions with me, I can put myself in that childlike state, and I can talk to your inner child with your permission. Okay. And you kind of have a conversation like that. Okay. And it really helps that mine is really super healed, because she'll say things like, so why do you think that then? And that's from a 4-year-old's point of view, or a 6, or whatever. So please, for those of you that are watching that think I don't have that inner child, or I don't know how to reach them, okay, start with your earliest memory. Even if it's your 13, your 14, your 11, however old you are, what's the earliest memory you have? Because if you start to come back into being connected with that version of you, once you heal that little bit, then the younger version of you can come through, because the older version of you is trying to protect little baby you and whatever happened. That's just one of my tips there. Okay, because I hear that week in, week out, session after session. I don't remember it, Kel. I don't know what it is.
It's interesting you say that. I've had many people come to me over the years saying that they can't remember, first and foremost, but also I've had people come to me and say, I literally don't feel pain.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
And again, it's similar, right? We've basically we've told ourselves this hurt too much. I'm never going to feel pain again. And your physical and the universe do not want to let you down. If you say, I'm never gonna, You say that enough and you won't.
Yep. And that's one of the things, you know, and you have to remember, your inner child is brilliant at avoidance tactics. It will avoid everything. I mean, there are people that I've seen that I started the course with, or I started working with, and then they disappeared off the face of the earth. They've unliked my page, or they no longer want to work with me. And do you know what? Guess what, Lucy? They come back and they find me another year. Okay. Or they'll find me on a live.
Common thread,
okay?
babe.
And I honestly, the people that I've worked with, you know, a couple of years ago, whatever, and I'm like, oh, I remember you. And they're like, yeah, well, I've now divorced again. Oh, again, another divorce. And you'll find that if you do a bit of digging, you'll find it's your inner child that destroys relationships, that makes you yo-yo with your weight. It gives you depression and anxiety. I'm not saying collectively, okay, guys, for those of you watching, okay, but I'm saying in general, your inner child is running your life, okay? People pleasing, all sorts, Lisa. You see it all the time. We see it in what we do. And the amount of people who think someone else's opinion is more important than theirs. Sorry? Hi? Who? So Joe Blogs on the street's opinion is more important than yours? I don't know, Lucy, help me out on that one. But
it's programming, right? That's society's programming. So not only have we basically abused our own inner child, irrelevant of what the scenario is, we've abused our own inner child. We've then been indoctrinated by society, by school, by parents' beliefs, by, you know, everything, all of the noise that goes on. And then on top of that, we then compound it with all of our own healing lessons that we signed up for before we came here.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things is, again, you know, in like your healing and the things that you do, I work a huge amount with the higher self. Okay, and I do believe your higher self, oversoul, whatever you want to call it, because there's so many spiritual terms out there, Lucy, we've heard them all.
Higher self. My followers will know higher self.
Okay, cool. All right. I've done other stuff with other people, and it's like, it's not called a higher self to me. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, we'll go with higher self. Okay. So I do a huge amount of work with the higher self and looking at the lesson you're here to learn and what are you getting out of that. And it's the higher self. Actually, if you go into meditation, I don't know if any of you do meditate, okay, but personally me, I meditate about an hour every day. Okay, it helps me be the very best medium that I can, and it also gets me in check with my soul. Okay, and just the higher self will show you those memories or those things. And if your members do that and can connect to the higher self and maybe not the inner child, then maybe do some higher self meditation or some work or whatever it is you personally teach, Lucy, because the higher self will be able to show you the inner child and be able to help you and set you free on that path to freedom, because this is all about helping you find emotional freedom for those of you watching.
I totally agree. And what's your thoughts on dreams? Because I actually think that for people that are slightly, not necessarily closed off, but people get different things from different sources, right? I actually feel that when some of my members come to me and they're like, oh, I've had this dream, I'm like, oh, your inner child is showing you exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on dreams, babe?
I do believe that dreams show so many things to us, okay? And like you, okay, I wake up to message after message after message. Well, before censorship, okay, of I had this dream, what's your take? And 9 times out of 10, I come back to it is the child in you, okay? And the other thing I see quite a lot is the shadow, okay? Same thing. It's no different. And people, someone messaged me yesterday and she said to me, hi, Kel, I keep having dreams about this black dark shadow. And I said to her, okay, so we had a bit of a chat. Okay, we found out what was going on. And I said to her, okay, so that is a part of you that is separate from yourself, that is showing you the shadow in your dream. Or she even said a black figure at the end of her bed. And I said, it's because your soul wishes to heal that side of you to come back to oneness.
Yeah.
Okay, so in your dreams, it's not necessary. And please, guys, for those of you watching, please don't Google a dream. Because I'm sorry to say even that word, okay, but in looking at it, you will find whatever answer your ego is or your inner child is trying to self-perpetuate. Remember, your inner child has been running the show for possibly 10, 20, 30 years of your life. It knows every avoidance tactic that is possible. So your dreams is actually the best way of doing that. And I don't know what you teach, Lucy, but one of the things that I personally use for my dreams, I have a dream journal like you, okay? I have books and journals for everything, okay? But one of the things that I speak openly about is before I go to sleep every night, okay, I am going to remember my dreams. I am going to remember my dreams. And I say that as an affirmation statement. And you know what? I will remember my dreams. And I also use like lucid dreaming, wake ups method, etc., all things like that. Okay, but your dreams quite often can unlock everything to do with your inner child.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that, like completely resonant with that. The other thing that I just wanted to say about dreams as well, for myself at the moment, I know I'm slipping between realms, and this is going down the rabbit hole a little bit for some people, but just bear with us, we will come back to inner child. But again, I'm being shown many different lives that I'm living, and it is all linked by our inner child. And that's the interesting thing about it. It is absolutely linked. At least from my perspective and what I see, it's elements of my inner child. And I'm like, wow, she's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's just something that I just want to say before we go on any further is your inner child will be your best friend if you allow her or him.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
shadow will also be your best friend if you allow her or him.
Yeah. And I've got to say, one of the things is so many people are afraid and scared of this work because, can I just dispel a really quick method here? Okay, a myth that comes out from all the spiritual community. I need to relive the past. No, you don't. For any of you watching here and now, you do not need to go back to that traumatic memory of potentially whatever happened to you as a child. If you had physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, whatever, you do not, in the way that we teach our work, have to live that memory. So if some of you are thinking, I really would love to go down the inner child route, these dreams are showing me these things, I'm seeing this, but I'm scared. Okay, what are you scared of? Because you don't have to go through it again. You just have to see the lesson and what it is teaching you with your higher self and your inner child. Well, that's what I teach anyhow, Lucy, personally. Okay, I work with the higher self, the inner child, and you, and put you all together as one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very important. None of this means going back and reliving.
No.
At times you're going to have to go back to, well, you need to go back to the point that it happened so that you can step past it rather than around it, or rather than dodging it or hiding from it or whatever you did last time round, you know, to know what it is. And it's very interesting. So when I started all of my work, I truly thought my trauma started when I was 15 years of age, when my parents split up. My sister told me she was a drug addict. All of this stuff, literally within a very, very short period of time, my world came crushing down. But actually, when I went back there, doing some work that I did, actually, I went further and further and further back. And actually, my trauma started when I was 8 years of age, but I'd forgotten about it.
Yep.
And it's only by befriending that 15-year-old who was hurt, who was upset, who was sad, who was a total daddy's girl, and then all of a sudden her daddy's gone, you know. And we know as human beings, most of us know now, particularly with the amount of focus we've got on mental health, that creates attachment issues. But actually, the attachment issues had already been created much earlier on. But because it wasn't a big deal, if you like, it wasn't like a huge, oh my God, I got abused or I had this happen to me, because it wasn't a huge aha moment, it was swept under the carpet.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people do. And that's just where you say the 15-year-old. And that's why I'm saying to you guys that are watching, okay, start with your earliest memory, be it 11, 12, 13. I mean, a lot of people come to you bullying. Okay, I was bullied as a child. Okay, okay, you were bullied as a child because something happened earlier, but you can only remember the bullying. Okay, I hear that time and time again in the sessions that I do with people. And just one thing I want to say there from my personal experience, when I started working with my inner child back in 2016, okay, she was 9. That's all she was. Okay, and I'm honest, in some of the work that I've done, if I knew then what I know now, I don't think I would have been able to cope, because I was abused from 18 months old as a baby in a nappy. Okay. However, at 9, that was my earliest memory, but I've loved her. Oh my God. And all I want to say is, whatever you're going through, whatever comes up, if you want to cry, cry, release it, let it go, because it's letting that energy out of your system. But please don't sit there today watching this video, because if you're watching it, you're watching it because you know your soul is guiding you. Your soul will only guide you to watch things that you need to watch if you have a fascination, because you have to remember your higher self is teaching you everything it needs to set you free.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say that just there, there's that little tiny bit that love the hell out of that awesome little girl or boy for getting through it.
Yeah.
Stop being horrible to them. Love is the only emotion that counts. I'm sure you agree, Lucy. Okay.
Oh, I talk about that on every blooming live I do. All I ever talk about is the
okay.
love vibration.
I think literally, obviously, everyone is you pushed out, Lucy. Okay, but for me, all of my lives are about heart space. Let's come into that heart space. Let's connect with who we are. It's just so beneficial, and your inner child is awesome, is amazing, and is incredible. So please, beautiful soul, please stop berating that beautiful, beautiful child that is inside of you.
And so a lot of people come to me and they say, well, this was my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe it was my fault that I got abused. Maybe it was my fault I got bullied. And for me personally, I do not believe anybody is at fault here.
No.
I believe we have all come here with contracts, some good or what we would deem to be good. You know, like Lucy being a little light worker is a good thing, most people would say. But then there's other people on the flip side of that. Well, why would people come here with a mission to abuse people? Now, I know this is a very, very challenging concept, and I've spoken about it quite a lot on my lives and videos recently. We have all come here with a soul contract.
Yep, completely, 100%. Yep.
You put your hand up to say, I will go there and I will do the healing work that is required, that unfortunately, because this just breaks my heart, resulted in you being abused as a baby.
Yep.
And exactly. That's not, like, nobody would logically say, yeah, I'll do that. But this is where it goes into the soul. And this is where, you know, a lot of you will probably be getting goosebumps about now. And you'll be like, oh my God, this stuff really somehow feels right, but it doesn't resonate with my human brain. And it's getting to that point of knowing, not accepting, knowing that you chose this because of something that you needed to, like something you needed to satisfy for your healing journey. And remember, I just want to touch on, before I ask your opinion on this, I just want to touch on like the area of child abuse right now, because obviously you've just mentioned it. I've got lots of clients that have been in exactly the same position. And obviously I'm very outward, which is why I got banned on Facebook, face ache as I like to call it.
Same here, Lucy.
Speaking about the child abuse. And please, if you have ever experienced something as traumatic as that, know that in the next 6 to 12 months, all of this is going to come to the surface. And although you don't feel like, I've got goosebumps all over me, although you do not feel like you've come here and you've delivered a huge job, trust me, you have. Because by you experiencing that, you've raised the collective consciousness on it. And what I mean by that is the awareness. And it's only when we have the awareness on these subjects that we can actually heal it and we can resolve it. And trust me, that is what's coming.
Yes, totally 100% agree. And I just want to say, where you say choosing soul contracts, okay, my perspective is you pick your parents and you also pick your name. Now, if I say that to some people and I say you pick your parents and they go, what do you mean? I chose to be abused. Yeah. So if you look at the higher self, can you see that in this instance, if I say, for example, okay, my father came down here with me, okay, and he played the baddie this time and I played the goodie. Thanks very much. That's the soul lesson. And that's one of the things that I teach massively is it's not personal. Okay, for those of you that are moving into your higher self, which we all do over time, okay, we all start coming from that observation and detachment. That's when you look at healing that inner child and you say, no, I never asked for that abuse, but I wanted the lesson. And for those of you watching, can you take the fact that you personally possibly went through it all to help hundreds or thousands of other people? What about if you're that person? And this is what I say to a lot of people, okay? So why don't you be that person that makes that video that says, this is my story? Why don't you be that person? Even if one person sees it, 2, 5, 10, hundreds have seen mine, okay? However, making that video says to someone else, you're not alone. Because I tell you what, so many people come to me and say, but it must be me. Why was I the one that was abused? Why did my father do that to me? Why did my mother hit me, etc., etc.?
Yeah.
Also be aware, guys, you're here to heal ancestral timelines.
Yeah.
Okay, and the generation before us was monkey see, monkey do. And you know what? We're here at this time on the planet as part of the Great Awakening, okay, to heal ancestral timelines and say, it stops with me right here, right now. I choose not to abuse as my father has abused his father, his father, his father. I choose me, I choose choice, and I choose to heal that side of you. So can those of you watching take that from me and say, okay, it wasn't personal. Now I need to heal that and come back to the oneness and come back to me being all that I am, the perfect, beautiful soul that you are, because you're here experiencing lessons, and that's all everything is. And a lesson only continues to show up for you until you learn it. I'm sure you'd agree with that, Lucy.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And we do need to recognise, I totally am in agreement with you, we pick our parents, something I speak about a lot, and we pick our name. My name is no surprise, it means light.
Yep.
Translated in, I think it's Latin, I mean light. There isn't, I mean, hello.
Knowing you as I do for the short time, there is no better statement than
I know, right?
the light
And
that
you
you
know,
are.
I used to hate my name. It's common, it's boring, it's short. I mean, Lucy Davis, how common is that? Like,
Yes.
Kel
Yes.
Caffekey, you've got a beautiful name. Do you get what I mean? But actually, I needed a name that went under the radar. I needed a common name, because when my name was being banded around in the papers recently, I was in the Telegraph, the Guardian, I was in Glamour, you name it, I was in all of them. Nobody knew who I was, because how many Lucy Davises are there on the planet?
Yep,
So
exactly.
remember, this is all part of the master plan. Now, I just want to come back to something that you said, and it was almost, it was kind of like, well, why is this happening to me? Now, that's really, it really initiates the inner child, right? Is when we step into victim mode.
Yes.
And actually, I'm sure you see hundreds of people like it, because I see hundreds, if not thousands of people like it, right? And it's like, yeah, but why does this have to happen to me?
Yep.
Why me? What advice would you give to somebody, or what is a tip that you would give to somebody to how to break that cycle of victim?
Oh, okay, cool. So first off, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
you sound
Everything
like
that's happening
you're
is
channeling me now.
no, I'm channeling myself, okay. Or we're channeling the same thing, okay, but it's happening for you to teach you the lesson, okay. So one of the things that I've done, and this has really, really helped me, okay, if I look at like a relationship that broke down, okay, and you talk about this in your journal. Now, one of the things that I do quite a lot with my people is mind mapping, okay. So I start at the, okay, where did that go wrong? Why has that happened? Because everyone goes and sits there, everything is rubbish, everything is crap, everything goes wrong, every relationship, no one loves me, no one wants me. And it's everything, isn't it? It's everything, okay? And it's just like, some people even bring me a garbage can full of all of the reasons why they are rubbish, unlovable, it happens, etc., etc. So my challenge back to anybody and to any of you is, so where's the evidence and what's the belief?
Yeah.
Because you are believing that to be true. And one of the things that I've recently started realizing, okay, is any emotion that you are feeling, and I spoke about this on one of my videos yesterday, okay, any emotion you are feeling, you are solely responsible for. So when you look at everything that is happening apparently to you, you are responsible for that emotion that you are feeling because of that event that has happened for you.
Yeah.
So if you choose to feel resentment, or you choose to be angry at someone, that's your choice.
Yeah.
You're choosing that emotion. So just start to unpick, why do I believe that's happened to me?
Yeah.
And it's like you use a thread, don't you? You go down and down. I don't know if this is what you teach people, but Lucy, this is one of the things that I teach people is, okay, where's the evidence and where's the proof to that belief that this went wrong for you?
Yeah.
And it'll come back to the inner child every time, Lucy. I promise you.
Yeah,
every time.
I totally agree with you. So the way that I explain it to people is, we have an emotion or a feeling come up, And it's not because of what's going on right at that precise moment in time. We go back through our records and we go, oh, this feels like that. So I'm going to collect that and I'm going to drop it in here and I'm going to have the same emotion. Because we're just reliving and reliving and reliving and reliving and reliving some more until one day we say, enough.
Yep, exactly. And I've got to say, the inner child loves the familiar. It will take you down that path every time. And when you see people say to me, oh, a narcissistic empath route, okay, actually it's an inner child thing. That's what it is, okay, at the end of the day. And people are like, oh, well, I keep meeting people that beat me up and beat me up and beat me up. Okay, you're going to do that because you're needing to learn that lesson, and that lesson is empowering that inner child to say, no, that's not right. And that's, so many people do that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's a lot of people that I've experienced anyway stay because of the fear of saying I'm not okay with this and them leaving.
Yeah. And I've personally done that. I mean, I've been in a very violent narcissistic relationship where I stayed for the children. I did, okay, and I was beaten black and blue, spat on, all sorts, okay, and even to the point of I thought I was losing my mind because this person kept saying to me, there again, Kelsey, look at that. That's what you've done that is wrong. And of course, that then raised up the huge, inner child issue that I had. And I'm so thankful to every partner. And also for those of you that are going, why has that happened? Actually, should we start looking at thanks for the lesson? Thanks for being in my life. Because I tell you what, from a higher self view, thanks to my father for that. Thanks to my mother for doing all the things that you have to me, because it makes me, and all of you watching, everything that's happened for you makes you here right in this second, right at this moment, right in now, the only moment that matters.
And do you believe it leads you to your purpose? Because I do.
Completely. Literally 100%. And I'm sure, I think you said this on your Instagram live, okay, I get asked the same question as you, as I was going to put today. Amen, sister. Okay, what's my soul purpose? Lucy, I hear that 50 to 100 times a day. What is my soul purpose? Quite simply, start working with your inner child and it will tell you all the dreams and ambitions. And remember, once you start talking to your inner child, it won't stop. It will want to tell you everything. But the one thing I want to say is, for any of you doing this work, okay, get out of I feel, go into what's the thought and the belief. That's what's important. Why are you believing that feeling to be true? Really start to go into the depths. And again, your inner child is very good at avoidance. It's done it for 30 or 40 years, Lucy. For 30 or 40 years, it's got away with blue murder because you've let it. But the bit that I teach is coming from that parenting that little child and saying, okay, why do you believe that, sweetheart? What is it, my darling? What? And that's where going into the inner child, and learning to talk. I, even as a child, like I said, I do to other people, or coming from, okay, so why do you believe that? And really going into that. So all those kind of things, mind mapping and stuff, would just be some top tips from me. It really would.
Awesome. I love it. It's fascinating because when you were speaking, like, I shut my inner child down for many, many years because I had to grow up very quickly. Literally I went from being a child to an adult overnight when my parents split up, and, my sister telling me she was taking pretty serious drugs. Literally I grew up overnight. And it's that kind of thing, to ever go back there and forgive yourself, by the way. I'm not talking about them, like they're irrelevant in all of this. That it's the lessons that we took from it. And actually I'm very grateful. My sister has been one of my best teachers. Literally,
totally.
She's amazing and I love her for it. I wish that she hadn't had to go through it, but she chose that path and I get that. However, I have learned so much. And to the same point that you raised, Kel, I was in a very short-term narcissistic relationship. In fact, the relationship wasn't narcissistic when we were in it. It was when I ended it that it got very narcissistic. I got run over, bones got broken, things like that.
Wow.
But I send him love every day. And whenever I do retreats and I share the story in full, they're like, you're crazy, woman. And I'm like, no, because now I can resonate on a level with drug addicts, people that have gone through divorce, people that have been left, people with abandonment issues, people who've been in narcissistic relationships, literally. And your message is in your mess. That's my favorite thing to say. Your message is in your mess.
Yep.
And although the mess, and I've spoken to some incredible people very recently, and they've literally, their stories make me sob.
Oh God, yeah.
That horrific. And I know that these people are going to change the world in that area where they probably can't even talk about it right now. But one day, especially with all this cleansing that's going on, we need you remarkable souls with us on this journey, coming together and shining your light.
Yep. And all of you need to remember, you're all incredible, you're all amazing, and you're all special. So many people look up to me, and it comes back to that pedestal thing you were saying. There are people that have come up to me and gone, can I touch you? Sorry?
Oh, mate.
I'm a human being, and I've had people give me a bit of toilet roll. Can I have your autograph? People have been like, I spoke to one lady last week, and she went, but you're that person I watch on TV because I mirrorcast you, I screen to my TV. And I'm like, but I'm you, sweetheart. I'm no different to you in anything that you do or that you say, you know, and you're all special, guys, all of you. Every one of you has a soul mission or a soul purpose. And some of you, it could be just being a mum.
Yeah.
Maybe you're here to be the best mum in the world. Yeah. Maybe you're here to help people with self-harm. I mean, I've personally, I don't know about you, okay, but I self-harmed for 2.5 years. So if I look back at some of the things, you know, being raped, sexually abused, being sectioned, self-harm, all those kind of things, I'm thankful for the lessons. And I forgive my soul for coming down here with a chit like that. Because boy, did I pick a life with a lot of ancestral healing. I mean, I didn't come down here, Lucy, and go, I'm just going to do 1 or 2 things. No, my name's Kel. I came down here to cover off 30 to 40 ticks on my sheet, just like you did, Lucy. Okay? So every one of you watching, guys, you all have a special soul purpose and a soul mission. So don't think that you've got to be the next Lucy Davis or next Kel Caffekey, because actually, do you know what? Even for those, can I just say, even for those of you that are actually in your beds and cannot move and might have fibromyalgia or ME or whatever, do you know my greatest thing to you? So shine your light. Go into your heart space and shine your light and just project that out there. Totally. That's one of my biggest things that I've got to say.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's quite interesting because I think it was last month I did a load of, normally I'm back to back, right? But because it was Self-Love Club's, one of my brand's birthdays, I did these calls. I did like a certain number of calls for 30 minutes, which I normally only do an hour. And I did them at a reduced price because that's what I do around, you know, I like to celebrate. I love birthdays. I just love birthdays. Yep. And essentially, I think 8 of the 10 people that took these calls got on the phone and went, oh my God, I can't believe I'm speaking to you. Yeah. And I had to have that conversation with them. I'm like, babe, everything you love is you.
Yeah. I've got to say, just on that, I did a reading for someone in Hollywood, okay? And she said to me, because I was a bit like stuttery with her, I was a bit like, oh my God. I was a bit like, oh my God, I cannot believe I'm reading for somebody that earns millions and millions and millions, right? And the first thing she said to me was, right, Kel.
You know about what goes on in Hollywood.
But one of the first things she said to me, and this will always stick with me, okay? And I'm not going to name this person because it's not fair, okay? However, one of the things that she said to me was, this is what I want you to remember, okay? I want you to remember, and I want you to think of me, that I am sat on the loo and I'm eating a bowl of pasta. And I went, she said, so can you picture me, the person that has got millions of followers? Can you picture me sitting on the loo eating a bowl of pasta, and then can you see that I'm a normal person? Can you do that?
Yeah.
And when I did that, I did the reading for her, and she went, that is one of the best readings I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, amazing.
But it's because I saw her as me, and she said, I just want you to remember, no matter who you are, what you say, it doesn't matter how much money you are a soul.
Yeah.
And all we're talking about today with your inner child is connecting that part of your little tiny you, which believes it's real, guys. Okay, it believes it's its own entity and its own driving force. is bringing you back with you, the human you and the child you, into connecting into the oneness that is your soul.
Exactly.
All of you are equal. No one is better than anybody. We are all equal in all that we do.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting. I did a video a short time ago actually on oneness, and I'm actually going to link it to this because I think it's very, very important. So if you're a little bit like, this isn't making sense, how can you be me and me be you, and watch this video. There's a section in it for children as well, so it helps you explain to your child these principles that we're talking through, obviously not the inner child healing, but very much about oneness. So I'm going to link that into this video actually, because I think it would be really, really aligned.
Yep.
I don't know about you, my love, but I've had the best time hanging out with you.
It's been absolutely awesome, and it's great. Honestly,
it's really lovely, and I appreciate it because you reached out to me off the back of a live I think I did on Instagram a while ago, and you just said, look, because I was saying I'd love to do more collaborations with people. Yep. My mission from here is to bring this community together as best as I possibly can. That's what I really would like to do. So you know, it's been amazing to connect with you, babe, and I know we're going to do one on twin flames at some point as well.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that one, because you come from the same concept as me on twins, and there are so many people that are waiting for their twin.
Yes.
Do me a favour, let go of it, because what I've got with a soulmate is out of this world.
Yeah. And I think it's really important. So if you are somebody that knows somebody who is fixated on twin flames, or they, you know, like I have a twin flame on the planet, as does Kel, right? We both have a twin flame alive and kicking on this planet. Yeah. And within a reasonable age that you could actually be together, you know, like we are living proof. And when we spoke about this, like there's very few people that actually have the same belief and the same concepts that Kel and I believe in. So I was like, right, let's do the inner child one first, because that impacts everybody. But then let's do one on twin flames, because I'm actually going to do a video on twin flames before we do the next one, because I think it would be good to introduce some people to the principle, and then we can obviously go down the rabbit hole a little bit, because we do go against the grain, right?
We do. We completely do. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, I'll talk about it all on the twin flame video with you. I've made
Everyone's going to be like that. Come on, what's the date?
Yeah, exactly. But I do want to say, okay, just quickly on the twin flame thing, okay, it was actually meeting my twin flame that started my inner child healing. Beautiful. And I will always, always be thankful, because your twin flame is your mirror. And when she said to me she wasn't good enough for me, she's my mirror that tells me that I'm not good enough for me.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to doing that one with you. Yeah. I've done several videos myself. Yeah, it's a rabbit hole and a half.
So guys, hit the subscribe button, because you will get to see that video at some point.
Yes, definitely.
And trust me, this is one that you are gonna be wanting to watch. So Kel, I'm just going to stop the recording now, babe, and then we'll catch up afterwards. To everybody, thank you so much for watching today. We really appreciate your time, love and effort. I'll pop Kel's details below in the description if you want to be able to get hold of her at all. I will do that. Thank you very much. And guys, we will see you in the next video very, very soon. Lots of love.
Bye.